Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. We've all seen those dazzling AI demos that just look like absolute magic, right? But what actually happens when that magic hits a messy Monday morning in the real world? Today, we're unpacking a fundamental shift in how we absolutely must think about integrating artificial intelligence into the enterprise.
So why do AI projects break down between demo and deployment? Honestly, this is the million-dollar question for operations managers everywhere right now. Because think about it, in a tightly controlled demo, an AI never runs into a missing spreadsheet or a corrupted database or, a grumpy vendor. But the second they're pushed into real, messy operational environments, they completely fall apart. And the root cause here actually lies in a deeply flawed mental model that pretty much everyone is currently using.
See, right now we're treating AI like a power tool. It's like a power drill. You squeeze the trigger, it spins, but you are carrying 100% of the cognitive load for making sure the hole goes in the exact right place. Just commanding, make AI do X, well, in that setup, the human carries all the burden of verification, and the machine carries absolutely zero consequence. And as we try to scale AI up, that model just completely breaks down. It physically cannot scale. The tool isn't the strategy. The workflow around it is.
Today, we are going to completely dismantle that old assumption and systematically rebuild the framework for truly usable AI. Here is our roadmap. First, tool versus role mindset. Second, the missing accountability substrate. Third, floor, ceiling, and seam. Fourth, solving for silent failures. And finally, the human accountability anchor.
All right, let's dive right into section 1, tool versus role mindset.
When you rely on a basic tool, you're just writing a technical spec for fixed inputs and outputs. But when you stop verifying every single thing an AI generates, you've crossed a major line. You've transitioned to delegating judgment, and delegation is a totally different ballgame. A role owns a function, meaning it exercises judgment within a defined scope. So to do this right, you aren't just tweaking a prompt anymore, you are straight up engaging in organizational design. Creating a RACI chart is way different from writing a tech spec because it defines actual relationships and boundaries, not just commands. You are literally architecting the reporting structure for a colleague who never ever sleeps.
Moving on to section 2, the missing accountability substrate.
Now, delegating judgment to a machine introduces a massive structural problem. Human roles work because we have skin in the game. We have what's called an accountability substrate. We have reputations to uphold, careers to protect. Basically, we can be fired or sued if we make a terrible call. But AI, it completely lacks this reputation substrate. It doesn't feel shame, it can't be fired, and it definitely cannot be held legally liable. So delegating judgment to an entity without this framework isn't just risky, it's structurally irresponsible. The natural mechanisms we use to calibrate human trust just aren't there.
You might be wondering, can't engineered guardrails just replace human accountability? Well, the short answer is absolutely no. Layering software to check other software just relocates the accountability problem. It doesn't solve it. It's basically turtles all the way down. An automated classifier is still just a machine. I mean, who guards the guard? What checks the checker? All these technical safety nets are super important for sure, but they can never replace the moral and legal accountability that only a human being possesses.
Which brings us to section 3, floor, ceiling, and seam.
The crucial point here is that we must architect structural boundaries to safely contain the AI's agency. We have to replace vague prompt engineering with a rigorous, three-part operational architecture. This is exactly how you give an AI a defined weight within your business ecosystem.
Let's break this down. Step 1 is the floor. This is your hard epistemic anchor, like a validated SAP database schema or really strict internal texts. It's the immutable truth the AI absolutely cannot cross, which stops it from wildly hallucinating. Step 2 is the ceiling. These are your tripwires. Think of high-risk escalation triggers, like say any transaction over $10,000 or anytime it detects personal data. And step 3 is the seam. This is the precise, pre-engineered moment where the AI knows it hit its limit and forces a mandatory handoff back to a human. By defining this floor, ceiling, and seam, we create a truly safe, contained zone for autonomous operation.
All right, section 4, solving for silent failures. Even with those boundaries, we have to talk about the most insidious risk hiding in these deployments. And it's not a loud crash, it's the silent failure. See, when traditional software breaks and error code usually pops up, right? Even an obvious AI hallucination is pretty jarring and instantly makes you suspicious. But a silent failure happens when an AI confidently stays in character, using all the right professional jargon while quietly optimizing over corrupted or out-of-bounds data behind the scenes. To catch these incredibly smooth breakdowns, you have to instrument for failures that do not announce themselves. This requires what we call dual signal ceilings, meaning you aren't just monitoring the output itself, but you're strictly tracking the runtime telemetry of the operational bounds the AI crosses to actually generate that output.
Now, as we design these boundaries, we run into a really interesting trade-off between transparency and presence. If an AI just spits out strict, robotic error codes the second it hits a boundary, it feels like a sterile DMV kiosk. But if it acts too human, we completely forget its limits. We solve this tension through a mirroring stance, the behavioral signature of the role. Does knowing exactly what an AI cannot do make it feel less capable? Actually, no. By explicitly hard-coding its epistemic boundaries into its persona, like acting as a skeptical auditor hunting for anomalies or a reflective facilitator pausing to validate your intent, it becomes a far more reliable and collaborative partner.
And finally, Section 5, the human accountability anchor.
This all leads us to the ultimate resolution of that trust problem we talked about earlier. In an AI workflow, the AI agent becomes responsible. It executes the task, drafts the email, parses the data. But the human must remain strictly accountable. This completely transforms the individual from just a mere user of technology into the AI workflow operator. You become a load-bearing component of organizational governance. You are the legal and moral substrate that the AI lacks. This relocation of accountability proves that while a machine can perfectly execute a process, it can never, ever own the liability.
There's a specific quote here that perfectly captures the thesis of this entire explainer. The judgment can be handed over, the accountability cannot. That engineered substrate we just discussed, all that software monitoring other software, it exists for one reason: to make human responsibility legible. Your signature as the human process owner is literally the only guardrail that truly holds when things go wrong.
As you head back to your own workflows, your own teams, and your own enterprise integrations, I want to leave you with one final critical thought to ponder before you launch your next deployment. The question isn't just what the newest AI model can do. The real question is, what are you willing to be accountable for having delegated? Answer that, build your floors and ceilings accordingly, and you'll transform AI from a fragile little demo into a durable, trusted enterprise role. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.